Hello, everyone. Welcome back. You guys all know what time it is. It is time for art. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We so appreciate you guys, coming in every single week, making time for art with us and helping us to grow our community of artists, and it is growing. We've got new members that we're excited to welcome next month, April, and those boxes just went out today or are going out today. So today is the last day. If you do know anybody who wants to sign up, make sure they have the Friends and Family 20 discount code that you can find in the comment section. And if you have if anybody else who may want to join, we can really kind of get those people by growing our social media presence and letting everyone see the great work you guys are doing. So don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, tag, share, post, comment, do all the things on all of our social media links, which again, you will find right in the comments section in just a few moments. Today is Wednesday, so you guys all know what that means. It is a paint day. We've got such an incredible painting to do today with some of the brightest colors that we use. We've got cerulean blue, medium yellow, and rose madder. And the color combinations that we're gonna make today are just gonna be so mind-blowing, so exciting. We've got, and also you're gonna need your covering white. If you have a blow dryer available, today's a good day to have that handy. So if you want to keep up with Allison as she's going through everything, make sure you do that. And let's say hello to Allison. Let's invite her into our chat now. Say,
hello,
Allison, how are you?
Good. I was just reaching for my blow dryer. I was going to show it off.
Oh, nice.
Got it right here. Yeah.
You know what? I want you to actually show off for me your yeah, so if you guys remember what we did, if you were with us on Monday, we did surface design, which was pattern making, whatnot. I want you guys to see what Allison came up with, and she's going to talk you guys through spoonflower.com, which is a way to actually turn your art from your art journals into something that you can actually have at home.
Sure. So I went ahead and painted mine. You can see them here. This was our step and repeat. This was our brick. This was our mirror, and this was our mirrored step and repeat. So those are the 4 I did. And so Hershey, really briefly, and Spoonflower does not pay us to promote this, but if everybody loved it as much as the feedback we got, and you do want to make patterns that you want to print out on fabric or wallpaper or anything like that, one, if you just have an image you like, you can upload that, take a picture of it or do it digitally, upload that to Spoonflower. They will let you mirror it, step and repeat it, brick it, or standard repeat. If you get into some things like this where you mirror and brick and repeat, or mirror and step and repeat and some other things, what you'll want to do, and this is kind of tough to show here, but you'll want to make a box that covers all of the things. So if you slice this flower here, you need to pick this part of the flower back up over here. And if you slice this flower here, you need the rest of it to fit in here. So this would be this repeats rectangle. And then you upload this, hit standard, and it will standard repeat it for you, and it will work out just like this. So basically you need to capture the rectangle that includes all of your drawing, all of your repeat. And that's how that works. And if you type,
go ahead.
If you type me into the designer search, I've got some stuff. I haven't done it in a while, but yeah, I have some designs up on Spoonflower.
That's cool. So when you uploaded that stuff, was that for anything in particular that you made? Yeah,
I've done a few different patterns that have been for purchase, and our subscriber Scout, her comforter is a Spoonflower design of mine, and I don't know if there's other ones that there too. So yeah, it's I haven't done it in a while though, so they're old. But as I was doing it in these in our sketchbooks and painting them, I really wished I had started my designs in a sketchbook before I'd made them digitally, because at least for me, this is a really good way to work, and you can change things and rip things and try things. And then I could have just focused on doing the repeat digitally and not figuring out the repeat. digitally. So enough with that though. And we're so glad everybody liked surface design so much. So okay, we're gonna get started on our, oh, and Hershey, you might have said it, but did you mention the baby animals challenge Friday?
Oh, I did not. Go ahead, do that for us. Yeah.
Our baby animals template challenge is due on Friday. So if you could just upload your baby animals, take a picture, share it to the group, we will get it. And we're really excited to see them. We already have some up there that are super great. And so the first thing we're gonna do is transfer this guy. But we just want to remind you, Friday is the last day for the baby animals challenge.
That's right. And you guys, you win a prize. Is it still a Starbucks gift card out?
It's still a Starbucks gift card.
Yeah, you get a Starbucks gift card. Whoever wins has the coolest template challenge entry. So don't forget about that.
Definitely don't forget about that. Okay, so I am hinging our outlines provided to my canvas panel. Just like this, folding the tabs over. Just like that. And then I am going to take our graphite paper, sticky, shiny side down, and we are going to tuck that underneath and with a little bit of pressure, outline the lines of our design. And so this is one Hershey and I threw around, not having you transfer until we started painting, and we would have painted the background first and then transferred. But here's the thing, and here's why we decided against that. Because we're working with greens and yellows and they're just not that opaque, you're gonna see through these lines, and you might as well have transferred them first. Saves a step, because it has to be really dry to be able to put paper over the top. And transfer. And so since we're not going to have a problem with that, we're not going to worry about it. But I am pressing a little harder than I might usually because I am going to paint over these lines, but we're going to see through them. So it's not the biggest deal. And this is,
I did mine really hard also, and like you see it, they came through like, I mean, it looks like pen marks, not even pencil marks.
Yeah, if you're a little heavy-handed with this one, and sometimes you definitely don't want to be because we've got to cover those lines. This time we're going to cover them with the background first. And then
I have to say, as I'm putting in the spoonflower information in the comments right now,
yes.
I think it's so cool that if we could search Allison Crary and see the cool stuff that you've already done. I think that's so cool.
You can. It's under designers.
Okay.
Search designers. I will come up. And I wished I had worked it all out in a sketchbook first.
Yeah, those art journals are made there. I mean, for me, I think anybody who's been with us for a while, you know, I use it for grocery lists. I use it for drawing. I use it for sketch. I use that thing for everything.
And that's your life right now. So that's a really good place for a grocery list too. Like that's not. So I'm getting my center in here, and I think I've got all my lines. You never know till you check. We try and not make these a dark black so that you can see your lines when you're on there. And looks like I'm missing a line right here.
And while you guys are finishing up your tracing, if you didn't do it beforehand, just keep in mind for anybody who's new or just starting out with us, we love to hear you guys. We love to interact with you guys through the comment section. And that's the only way we actually know if you guys are there. So don't forget, you know, if you have any questions, you can put it right in the comment section. We'll get it answered. And if you just want to say hi to each other, as a matter of fact, if you guys want to do a roll call and say hi right now, anybody tell us where you're from or what you're excited about or what's going on in your life, you can do that too.
Would love to have you. Okay, so I have my image on here, and I got my other one right here when I need it. And we're going to start with the background. And the way we're going to do this background is we're gonna put some white in the middle, just like that. And then we're gonna take out our cerulean. And we're gonna take out our yellow. And then we're gonna kind of do a yellow over here that we add a touch of cerulean to. And we're gonna mix these guys up. At least this one for sure. Just like that.
We've got, I don't know, you probably know her personally. I just want to say a special shout out to Katie Basilio, who is a longtime fan. Yeah, she's a longtime fan, she says, but first time joining us. So hi, Katie, welcome. So excited to have you.
Longtime listener, first time caller. That's so great.
Right.
Katie is with us from Seattle, which is super exciting. I don't know if she's in Seattle right now, but that is where she lives. So very cool. West Coast represent. All right,
Yeah.
we are going to start with our white in the middle. And as you see, I have some of this green already on the brush. Not going to matter because we're mixing it all together. So we're going to kind of start with our white. And we don't want it to be too thick because we're going to see our lines through it. And we're going to be painting over this. So we don't want anything that's too thick to have to dry and cover up. But I'm going to kind of start with our white and this green we mixed. And I'm going to kind of go around my lines here and just start covering the canvas. And I want it to kind of be intermittent. I want some just white to show, some of my green. And then when I've got everything covered, I'm going to go back in and fold in some of the other colors. So right now I'm doing it with just green and white. And it's intentionally kind of patchy because we want this really bright, vibrant.
And that's a very yellow green, is that right?
Yeah, this one is. It looks like this. So it's a lot of yellow and a touch of the cerulean.
Okay.
Just like that. Going around. And again, we're just trying to get all the holes filled in at the moment. And with acrylic paint, it will always shrink up on you. As the water evaporates, you can think you have something covered and it will shrink up again and show some holes. And we're going for no holes. So
yes.
Kind of working around our flowers, but definitely overlapping over the lines. Just like that. And then I've pretty much got it covered at this point. And I'm looking to see if I want to get in between these two branches. And then I'm going to kind of hit some yellow notes. And the reason we started with our white is because not all colors are created equal. We say that every time. The yellow is going to be really translucent. So a way to get a really intense yellow is to kind of put it on top like this. It's something we've already put together. And then I'm actually going to take some blue and kind of mix that into where the green was and hit some of these blue greens. And I'll call it cerulean or blue. So not to confuse anybody there, we're only using these three colors today.
And you guys, before the live stream started, Allison did, we were chatting, we were laughing about the cerulean monologue that Meryl Streep did as Miranda Priestley and Devil Wears Prada. And Allison knew the whole thing almost by heart, I swear.
I mean, maybe I've seen that movie a few times. But yeah, it's the whole history of like who introduced cerulean and then And it was picked up, and then it was picked out of the sale, like of the clearance bin by you. And you don't even, yeah, it's a really kind of condescending.
Very.
So, and the question here is, we want to keep it loose, and the more you mess with it, the more it becomes one color. And that's not necessarily the goal, because we want it to look like a lot of different colors. We want it to look like, on a Zoom background, say if you work from Zoom a lot now, we want it to look like how the background fades, how you can fade your background.
Yes, it's out of focus.
Out of focus. So we want this to look like this really beautiful, little intense greenery out of focus. So, okay, I've got mine pretty well filled in here. And it's different than this, but what I don't want it to do is become all the same color. So it's actually exactly how I want it. And they should be different on everybody's, because we're not going for an exact replica on this one. So I am going to go ahead. I've got my hairdryer out, and I am going to go ahead. I'm going to mute myself so that we don't have competing noise.
Remember, you don't have to do that.
You really don't think so?
Truly, either you've been doing it all the time, or Zoom just does it for you.
All right.
I mean, can you guys hear that? Is that the coolest thing ever? It just I don't know. I can't hear it. If you guys,
and remember,
let me know in the comments if you guys can hear it. Maybe I'm the only one who can't hear it.
But it's high heat, low air is what you want.
Okay. Can't hear it. So while she's doing that, I don't even know if she can hear us. I want you guys to know that my template challenge is going to be of drawing the babies. I'm going to be making those babies into one of the patterns that we discussed on Monday. So I'm really gunning for that gift certificate. So if you guys are gunning, or you guys also want that gift certificate, you're going to have to really put some work in, because mine's going to be spectacular. Yep. Thank you, Caroline, for writing it. I also can't hear it. Thank you so much. I think Allison is shocked. I think that's probably driving her crazy that it's so loud. She definitely thinks that everyone can hear her, her hair dryer.
All right. I have no idea what her just said.
I don't know if you heard it, but Caroline wrote in and said, yeah, no one can hear it.
Good. Excellent. Awesome. Okay, so this is pretty dry. It's not like perfectly dry, and it doesn't need to be, which is why we didn't trace first. And I can see my lines through here. In the event that if for whatever reason you cannot see your lines through here, you come back and retransfer. It's right there. You keep your line, you keep your line drawing there for a reason. So we're gonna fold this guy back over. And the next thing we're gonna do is something we like to do here, which is where we kind of wash in. And what is a wash? A wash is a very loose, watery mixture of your paint. We're gonna kind of wash in where everything goes. So I'm gonna start, and if for whatever reason we get ahead of you, you can pause us live, and you can't rewind, but you can watch this as soon as we're done with it. So keep that in mind. So I am going to, with our leaves and just a really loose watery wash of the cerulean, just kind of put in this kind of watercolor layer of the leaves. And I'm going to do it in cerulean. We're going to hit some kind of yellow notes. And
okay, so you've got the cerulean all by itself now?
All by itself, just like this. And I've got a lot of water in there, and I'm doing a watercolor layer of the leaves. We should have warned everybody this at the beginning. If we go over an hour, which is likely, we understand if you have to go somewhere and do something else.
Yes.
It does not hurt our feelings.
And you can, like Allison just said, you can find this video if you do have to jump off. You can find this video here on our Facebook page or on our YouTube page at Time for Subscriptions. It'll be there.
Yes, yes, yes. And the reason why is we used to do these videos that nobody liked. They were 20 minutes long. I got some more feedback.
Those were really weird days when we would just say goodbye, enjoy your
Watch the video on right now. I got some more feedback from a subscriber that the pause icons would shoot up and blind you. That white background would like hit you hard.
That's hilarious.
Like, yeah, I can see that. So I am just washing in. So for a variety of reasons, not excluding that thoughtful feedback we got. We
go live now.
Doing those.
Yeah. Which I think is that it really kind of showcases the magic of what we're doing. It's like this is done live. It's not like it's the,
oh yeah,
produced. Yeah.
We you see the whole thing. And actually it was really helpful last time there because we had like some, I don't want to say bloopers, but like some things that didn't, like it was like, okay, and here's how we fix this.
The blooper reel. That would be
real.
really good too.
Yeah. You see the whole thing right here. Okay, so I have washed in all of the leaves. And I always, as soon as I say all of, I actually want to make sure I've gone all of. And so just because the acrylic paint tightens up as it dries, you always want to make sure if there's anything you need to retouch because you thought you got it the first time. And then it dries considerably.
And for clarification, we're painting the leaves, not the petals.
The leaves, not the petals. I got nervous for a second that I said the wrong thing. All right. The next thing we're going to paint, we hit those first just because we had the cerulean on the palette, or at least I did. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to mix up this kind of purpley brown. And we're going to do that with some rose madder and cerulean. So we're going to put a touch of rose madder and a touch of cerulean in one of your wells. Give that a mixy mix and you're going to get a really nice purple. Just like this. And then you're going to take some of this purple. And I'd say leave the purple because we'll hit the branch with some of that later. So take a good dollop of that purple, just like this. And we're going to add some medium yellow. And these are complements. So in a perfect world, these would perfectly cancel each other out. But with violet and yellow, or purple and yellow, they're so warm. And the yellow is never as strong quite as the purple. You're going to get a really warm brown. And so here we are. And I'd like mine a touch kind of darker and deeper. So I'm going to go in for some more of this. And that's what I'm going for. Can everybody see that? That's how we made our brown.
Yes.
Actually, I want all of them. This medium yellow is stronger than the lemon yellow we've been using before. It's a little bit more trustworthy. It goes a little further.
And that was just to go over that one more time for everyone at home keeping up. It's
Sure.
You made a purple with the red and the blue, and then we added a little bit of yellow.
And then we took some of that and added, I would say a substantial amount of yellow, but not as much as we'd need to if we were using the lemon yellow. It's a lot lighter.
If somebody does that mixture that you just said and it looks really green, what should they do?
So if it looks really green, you want to neutralize that green. And how would you neutralize green, Hershey? What's the opposite of green?
The opposite of green would be red. Yes, red. Yes.
Hit it with some rose madder.
There you go.
And so I'm going to wash in the branches now with our brown. Just like this. And I would say be mindful of the lines, but the idea here is to put down a base. So if you go over the lines, that's actually kind of great because then you won't see them when you hit it with more intense paint. And we go through it every week, but we'll say it again. It is easier to pull a line than it is to push a line. I thought about in one of our feature boxes, it's not in this next one, but having kind of a stroke worksheet where we just practice right on the page some strokes.
Yeah,
just
we've had
so
some really great.
really,
Sorry to interrupt. We've had
yeah.
we've had some really great feedback or comments or questions from our artist community about how to sharpen brushes, how to get that fine line other than just pulling.
Oh, and let's go with how to sharpen your brush. I'm gonna use up what's on my.
Allison, we've got some comments coming in from the artist community. They would love that. They would love that worksheet.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Because I mean, worksheets make me feel like homework, but as long as everybody understands it's not homework, it's just for fun. So you're gonna get your brush really wet like this if you sharpen your brush, all right? And then you're gonna kind of squeegee to a point.
Yeah.
And that's how you sharpen your brush. And it's still really wet. And then you're gonna dip it in your paint. And then you're just gonna work right along that line, giving it a pull, not a push. And that's how it goes. So yes, so we will do, it won't be in our April box, but our May box will have a stroke worksheet. Maybe we'll have a few.
That would be fun.
Pull them out on different days. And it's a good thing to kind of separate the stroke from the project that you're doing. Like, we're just going to practice. And this doesn't have to be anything at the end of the day. Because we always try and make something you enjoy or can be really proud of, but at the same time, practice is practice. So great way to go.
And here at A Time for Art, you make art you can be proud of every single day.
Every single time. All right, we are.
Real quick, Allison, maybe you can help out. Lori Flanagan Hagee, she wanted to know, I don't know why I always say her name. I like her last name, Hagee.
Beautiful.
Her question in the comment section was, she wanted to know, do you wash and add water? Well, and I don't understand what the question might be. Maybe that would make sense to you.
You just want to loosen up your paint, and you want a layer of paint that you can see through. And it's just to fill in all the holes and get it to where you can, when we're done with this stage of the game, you are going to be able to, we're going to have the whole painting filled in, and we're going to be able to work it up from there. So while we have our brown mixed, we're also going to use this brown for our centers. Okay, so wash it in because we're going to put some yellow on top of it, but we're going to go ahead and wash in our centers with this brown. And I know what Lori means. I used to take bar class where they'd be like tuck and hold, tuck and burn. And you'd be like, is burn different than hold? Like, do I not understand that? Like, and it was the same thing. You just got sick of saying tuck and hold. And I understand why it's annoying to have to say that the whole time, but they didn't explain that it was the same thing.
Tuck is the same as hold.
Tuck wasn't, but hold and burn were the same thing. And
that's really funny.
Yeah. And everyone else seems to be okay with it. And I'm like, I don't understand the difference.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like this, where you have different people joining at different times, and maybe they explained it a whole bunch at one point and you weren't there for it. So,
Right.
and that's our, everybody's doing their best, but always ask.
Yeah.
So we are just looking, yeah, don't like just hold like I did and be like, all right, I think I've done it right. So yeah, a wash, however you get there, is a loose, watery layer of paint. And we're doing it to map out our colors.
And so what's it called when you use white to lighten it up?
That is a tint. We are
Ooh.
tinting our paint.
Okay.
And we're actually making it more opaque, not less opaque. And we're going to do that right now.
Right.
So we're going to take some of our white from the middle. If you still have some, if not, get out some white. And we are going to grab our rose madder. And we're going to put a substantial amount. It's actually going to be darker than what we have in there, because it'll look really good to layer white on top of that, kind of like our white veil technique.
Yeah.
And we're going to make it. So this is how mine looks.
Let's see. Okay.
This. And we are going to, with some water, but because this has so much white in it, it's going to be more opaque than what our other layers have been. We're going to paint in our petals. All the way. Don't worry about how they variegate. I promise you we'll get there.
So, but I think this color mixing is so great, and learning the color wheel was so cool, I think, because I actually had the same issue where my brown was really green. And when I added that red, this brown is beautiful.
Yeah. It's science. What can I say?
Yeah, so neat.
So we're just going to kind of get these in there. And again, this is going to come in a little bit more opaque than the other ones because it has our opaque white in it. Coming around this way. But you can definitely still see through it. So are the dogwoods out anywhere?
Petal, right? Every petal gets the same layer of pink.
Gets the same layer of pink. And then we're going to look at the whole thing and everything's going to be filled in, which is just a good place.
Sure, especially when you're working with canvas and you see those white little patches in the end. You're like, how did I miss that?
Right. And we talk about it a lot, but the idea being there's a few kind of cheaters tricks or hacks, like the kids call them these days, that kind of make your work look a little bit more finished and a little bit more professional. And one is to make sure you fill in all of your canvas holes on the first spin.
And working with acrylics, those canvas holes show up where you didn't think they were.
Oh yeah, tighten right up.
Yep.
So.
I always heard artists talk about, like building up the color and whatnot and layer whatever. And I never knew what that meant. And now the way that you're teaching us how to do this stuff, now I know exactly what they mean.
Well, and it's just how a different artist might do it is totally cool too. And that's why we try and do a lot of work on here. That's not how I tell you to do it. It's just free flow. And we give you outlines and we give you the stuff and we encourage you to mess it up and change it and do all those things. And it's because everybody's got a different way to do it. I just have found that if I have a basic organization to how I get started, it takes a lot of the stress out of it for me.
Right. Well, and I found that with those, if I my routine, you and I have spoken about it. My creative process is to mess up, fix, mess up, fix, mess up, fix, and then eventually it looks nice. And all those different messes up, those fixes, they add such depth to what I'm doing. It looks like I'm some sort of, experienced artists, and really that's just other paint that is below what I mess, what I'm fixing.
And that's also kind of a nice metaphor for life, that everything
Yeah.
of all of the steps that get you there only make you more interesting.
That's actually true. You're
Only
right.
make you more beautiful, only make it, yeah. If we got it right on the first turn, your stuff would look really sterile. And so Hershey is right on all accounts. That all of the work underneath only gives your work more depth, more identity, more is more. All right. So now we are looking at a fully filled in canvas. We have our 3 pink dogwood blossoms. I was going to ask if anyone's seeing dogwoods yet. We don't have any in the Midwest, to my knowledge, in bloom.
Okay. Is that because of the weather out there, or because they might be blooming somewhere else?
I think maybe they're more of an April flower, but they definitely come out in the spring, and they come for a few weeks and they're gorgeous.
Yeah.
And then you kind of go back to them being like looking like trees. But okay, so the next thing we're going to do, just because this pink is kind of wet right now, is we're going to dip into our pure white, not mixing it with anything. And I am just going to kind of layer in and kind of mix it into what's already there. Sometimes that's called scumbling. Some of our pure white right into the centers of each of these flowers. So this one comes up to about here. This one kind of comes out and around like this. This one. Down like this. This one. And the reason we're doing this first is because we're going to build this up. And so we're going to kind of let these areas dry a little bit before we go back in. And then we'll go in with the straight up rose madder at the end to hit some of these really raspberry areas.
Some beautiful petals.
So, and it's just, talk about depth. We're going to hit all of that depth with all these different layers.
And our leaves are still a watercolor blue, all right?
We're leaving them alone for now. We'll go back in with those next.
Yeah.
While this is wet. So this one, the white is down here. I'm coming in like that. With this one back here. Layering our white right around here. So we're going to work on our petals. We're going to hit them kind of first like this with this layer, kind of right after our wash phase. And it's also going to be the last thing we work on.
They're kind of the star of the show here.
Yeah. And this one is just a little bit kind of this light area right around here. Right through here. And then really this last one is really just the pink that we've already made. So we don't have to go on with our white. All right. I am just going to, at this point, I'm going to wash out my brush. So with some water, I'm just going to kind of pay attention to this transition around here at the edge. And I'm just going to run some water through this and loosen that up and just sort of draw that out, and it'll blend right into what's down there. And as you can see, they're already starting to look like what they're going to be. And we're just going to slowly over time just build up these sort of white centers to these beautiful flowers. I think of the spring flowers, dogwoods are my favorite because they just float.
They
All right, we're gonna let that be for a minute. And then we're gonna go back in to our leaves. And if you look, we don't really mix green on these. We kind of hit the blues as blues. So we're gonna do that next. So I've got my cerulean out. And I'm just gonna take a little, I still have a little bit of pure white in the middle. And I'm just gonna add a touch of that because I'm gonna make it more opaque. So it's gonna kind of come down a notch in intensity, but it's gonna become more opaque. And I'm gonna hit all the really blue areas of these leaves. So it is this part right here. This part right here. And it's this kind of internal part right over here. This edge down here. Kind of comes up and around like this. And then sometimes if this has ever happened to you, what you transferred doesn't match what it looks like you're trying to paint. So that could be a stray mark or something like that. Always go with what you think it should look like and not the line you made. What's going on for me right now? Like that line doesn't work. Yeah. No big deal. I know better. Up and around here is this kind of pure blue. Over here, it's this kind of pure blue around here. Around here. Over here, it's these kind of leaves going down. Around here. These are pretty much the straight up blue. It looks like I hit them with a little yellow in the end, but over here, filling this guy in. And if you look at the whole picture, it looks even more like what we want it to be.
Yeah, it's looking great.
In the end. All right. So we're going to do the same thing with our yellow and our yellow green. Very similar to the way we mixed them in the beginning. So we're going to drop some yellow into these original wells that we mixed our yellow and our yellow green in before. And I'm going to put a little white. I'm going to take some of this blue green, or just some of this blue with the white, and add it to make it blue green. So there's our green. And then since my white, what's that?
Yellow's not so strong, so that's why you're doing that, because the yellow's not so strong.
Yeah, well, I want it to be green, so I took the yellow and I added some of the blue green, or the blue to it. Now it's more of a blue green, and then I'm going to add a drop of white to our yellow to make it a little more opaque, just like that. Yep. I'm going to wash out my brush because I want my yellow to stay yellow. We're going to mix this guy up. So that's our yellow. So I'm going to go with our yellows first, and then I'm going to kind of transition with our green. So this one has this kind of really yellow edge. Comes around like this. This one has the yellow on this lower part of the leaf right here. Just like that. Same thing here. Here's our yellow. Just like that. And then there's this really beautiful yellow kind of stripe almost that is right here. And before we put in our greens,
Mhm.
I'm going to wash out my brush because I don't want any green on it. And there's these yellows in our centers. So I'm going to hit some yellows. Looks like there's kind of a lot here on the left side. Kind of pepper in some more yellows over here, down here. And if you look, it's already kind of setting up really nicely because it's got the brown underneath. So there's already some depth there because it's not going yellow over white, it's going yellow over brown. Right in here, we've got some of our yellows. Over here. Just like that. I'm gonna kind of let that go for a minute because we'll go back in with our browns and then with your kind of straight up yellow that doesn't have so much white in it. And I'm gonna reach for the green we just mixed. And I'm gonna hit some of these transitions in between here. So there's some green kind of comes in between. Right in there.
Green in between the yellow and the blue on the leaves.
Blue, it kind of transitions just like that. And we're doing that with our green. Same thing here. There's a little bit of green underneath here. Over here. Around here. And then there's a little bit of green if you look really carefully, kind of on the underside of these leaves down here. And those are our greens. So if you look at your painting again, it's looking even more like what it's going to end up to be. And then we're just going to second coat if you still have your brown mixed up. If not, it was the rose madder and the cerulean that makes a purple or a violet, and then you add some yellow. We're just going to kind of second coat with full-fledged paint our brown stems. And I'm just pulling my lines. And you know where to go because you already put your wash in. I was also thinking, I've had some subscribers love to give their paintings as gifts, which is a really lovely personal thing you can give somebody. And I feel like
Wow.
a good one for Mother's Day.
Yes.
Which is coming up.
Great idea.
So here.
I'm really glad we clarified. You know, Lori had that great question about washing and is it always water? Is it always white? And the clarification you gave about one's a tint and one's a wash. I feel like I'm like the art education that we're getting here is so great.
She's so appreciative.
I really am.
And then if you add black to something, or maybe even its complement, that's considered a shade.
Okay.
Might just be black, but I would say the same thing works if you add its complement and you make it a darker, sort of more muted version of itself. I would still call that a shade. Watch, I'm wrong if someone wants to correct me.
Yeah. Listen, you're the art expert here in this community, so.
But here's the thing, sometimes you're wrong and you just are. And I've been wrong plenty of times, so. We're coming in here. Just like that, and then Right around this way. This one's kind of the ultimate slow burn where slowly but surely we're working our way up to where it needs to be. Okay, and while we've got the brown on our brush, we're gonna go ahead and put in our centers.
Our centers?
Our centers of our flower.
Yes.
So it's the same brown we mixed. And I'm just kind of with sort of a pointillism kind of dot technique, kind of dotting in our centers. So all the areas you see your dark brown in your centers go around like this. And put in your centers. The brown parts at least. And so this one is on the side. It's kind of coming up from underneath. Same thing here.
This is definitely going to be one of those paintings for me that I work on well into the night.
And that's awesome.
Yeah, that's my favorite. You know, just to sit here and just kind of zone out.
Yeah, put on some music.
Yeah.
All right, and so with that brown too, I'm going to, with a lot of water, I wouldn't call it a wash, but just with a lot of water, I'm going to kind of hit some of my darks in these petals. So there's a dark area right around here that I'm going to get in. Just like that. This area has a dark area up and around here, and it comes around this way.
And it's just water you're using?
Just with the, yeah, just the brown and some water.
The brown is water.
The brown. And we're gonna let that dry because then when we put our kind of pure rose madder over it, it's just gonna catch that darker value. And it's gonna kind of sort of naturally put that area in shadow.
Chelsea agreed with me. Chelsea out there, she said that she is the same as me. She's going to be, she said 2 hours later, she's easily can be found right here just doing the same thing.
I love it. Amazing. All right, so this, it kind of chases around this way, the dark area. Just like that. Fabulous. We're gonna do the same thing over here. We're gonna kind of take this kind of up and around like this and down. And don't forget to post after you've spent your 2 hours enjoying and painting and figuring it out. Don't forget to post. We love to see this stuff. This edge right here is a little bit of brown on it. Or dark. So in this case, we're kind of using the brown as kind of our universal dark. And we've done that with some of our other ones too. Kind of like with our swans, we used that sort of complement that the vermilion and deep blue mixture is our universal dark. This time we're using this brown. This kind of comes up like this along this edge.
It's really cool.
And it ties the whole painting together. That's why we like to work with a limited color palette. We're only using 3 colors and white. You get a lot of continuity and unity if you figure it out with a few different colors. Another cheater's trick. Just like this. Up and around here, just like that. All right, just like that.
Was that Marv?
Yeah, he's found something he doesn't like. Marvin! Marvin, everything's okay. See how we're doing. All right. So I'm going to take what's left of this brown and just add a little blue to it. Just like this. So it's just going to be a kind of a darker, bluer version of something like that. I'm going to add a little red to it. I want it to be a little more purple. And more blue. That's what I want. So it's our brown plus blue plus rose madder.
And what color are you reaching for?
This kind of more plum version of our brown. So it's our brown plus some rose madder plus some cerulean blue. And we're going to kind of hit the undersides of our branch. So it's this side right here. This side around here. This side right here. Coming down like this. This side right here. Just like that. Around like this.
Just the undersides?
Yeah, we're just kind of showing a little bit of depth. If the sun is coming from above, it's this kind of underside that's going to collect a little bit of shadow. There isn't too much contrast here. And then this side here. Same thing over here. And this way. And I'm also going to take some of this color because if you look really closely, we have some really dark kind of parts of our centers. And I'm going to pepper it into kind of this sort of cluster right here on the lower right of our center. Up in here, around here. Just a little of it in here. And a little bit of it kind of in here.
You know, in some of these little center pieces of the flowers, I used a little too much yellow. And I'm wondering, you know that style of painting, I think it is done with acrylics where they add a lot of texture by using a ton of paint.
Mm-hmm. It can be either. It can be oil, but yeah.
All right. What is that, what is that called? And like, can I do
Sure.
that right now?
That's an impasto technique. And absolutely. And if you want to build up depth with thickness of paint, absolute great idea. Give it a try.
Okay. Gotcha.
All right. So in review, we've got our leaves in. I'd say our leaves are pretty close to done. I'm just going to I'm going to add a little bit. My yellow kind of disappeared on this one. So I'm going to add a little bit more yellow to get this nice sort of stripe of the yellow catching the sun right around here. This is kind of impasto where I've got some yellow standing up. Actually, I'm going to say the same thing down here. I'm going to add a little more yellow to this part of my leaf. But otherwise, I like my leaves at the moment. I'm going to hit some of my centers a little bit more of my yellow mixture. Where I kind of want the yellow to sort of stand out on top. Just like that. A little bit over here. And the top of this. And then the last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go with some straight up yellow, but it's gonna look really intense because we've built all of this up. Just like that. And then we're gonna reach our straight up rose madder unfiltered.
Unfiltered.
And I'm gonna get some water on my brush. Just like this. I'm gonna start with the ones that I know are dry, which is, there's a little bit of moisture. So I'm gonna start over here. And I am going to hit our super red raspberry areas with a layer of straight up rose madder. I'm using a lot of water. Wouldn't call it a wash, but it's sort of one standard deviation away from one. And I'm going along the edge here, just like that. And I'm gonna leave it and kind of let it sort of cure to the canvas, and then we'll go back in with some water after that. I'm gonna go over all of the browns, and you see how the browns are now turning rose because we're kind of glazing over them.
We're building it up. Yeah.
Yeah, this is kind of a glaze technique where you can see through it because this is one of those colors that has a lot of transparency just built into it. And that's kind of back to the not all colors were created equal. Some are going to be more opaque than others. Yeah. That's just, if you were doing these on a computer, it would be a little different. But because the pigments that make the paint behave a little bit differently, this is part of it. When I do,
if you were to like maybe get a different brand of paint or something like that, would it be possible that maybe that new yellow from a different paint company is stronger than the yellow we have?
it would be stronger than the yellow we have. It still wouldn't be as strong as the black, for example.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Got it. It might not be as strong as the yellow we have. Could you get a more opaque yellow than the one we have? Yes. One is it might have some white in it, and that's how it gets more opaque.
Right. Good point.
The other is that it's got more intensity to it, but your yellows are always going to act like this. That's just kind of the way it works. And it kind of throws me off that it doesn't work this way when I work digitally. It's like, oh, yeah, no, that's going to act like any other color. Working around this way. And just for these two, I'm going to go back in and just take some water and just kind of draw this out into our petal. Kind of let it go, let it be. And then our last layer is going to be this white that kind of sits up on top of all of our petals. That's how you get this really beautiful, really rose red color. Same thing here. Draw this out a little bit. Right around this way. I hit our really intense raspberry red. this way. This is kind of follows this line around here, over here, up like this. This kind of
we hit the hour mark, so I just want to say thank you. Anybody
Yes.
who's still around, we're going for it. Let's do it. Let's get this done.
And we don't have much more to go. This is not going to be a too late a night. And it comes around here. Chase this up this side. Draw out some of this. Just kind of ripple in this one that kind of goes like that. Kind of blend along these lines, just like that. And so we're awfully close. If you had to walk away from it right now, you could.
Okay.
Wouldn't recommend it, but it looks kind of like what we set out to create. So I'm just going to go and do a little bit of maintenance. Anything that's not quite drying the way I want it to, I'm going to kind of blend some of this out. Like this is kind of patchy. Drawn. The rest of it's pretty much the way I want it though. Just like that. Now, as promised, we're going to take our straight medium yellow. As is. Don't do anything to it. Wash out your brush.
For the first time ever.
Yeah, ever, ever, ever. And we're going to take our medium yellow, just the tip, and kind of dot that into our centers. And it's going to show up pretty much the way it looks on the tube. But it's because we've built up all these kind of colors underneath that we're not losing it to the white of the canvas. Just like that. Around here. Right around like that. But we're getting, mine's looking really yellow. Is yours looking yellow, Hershey?
You know what? I'm not there yet, but I think it will. I think it will.
You will.
I'm still
When you get to that point.
I'm still really amazed how beautiful the red has turned on top of the brown.
Yeah. We just used the brown as a value adjustment. So we made it darker. And then we turned the red. We turned the brown red. Okay, yeah. So you can take some white. I actually have some kind of rosy white in the middle. I'm just gonna add a little white to it. And we're gonna kind of make our super thick covering white into a little bit of a slurry. That's my word. And it's kind of when we take maybe soft serve ice cream and make it into kind of like a milkshake. Still thick. It's not as thick as
great metaphor.
I worked at Dairy Queen one summer. Traumatic, but you learn. All right. And we're going to get this kind of white and the inner petals, and then we're going to do some really careful white kind of where it folds around the edges. So we're going to start with the inner petals with our kind of slurry of white, just like this. And we're going to kind of paint it in and leave it alone and mess with it later. So I'm starting with the center. I'm kind of working my way out to the edge, and then I'm going to let it be. Starting in the center, working my way out to the edge. In this case, I'm going to go around the edge with the white. like that.
This is really, really cool.
Starting in the center. But you're getting all that layering. And this is very similar to sometimes what Hershey and I call the white veil, where you put some white over kind of what you're doing. And it changes it. It's not really a glazing technique. I mean, it is, but you can't see completely through it. There's kind of a veiling to it. And I'm going to come up here where this kind of petal sort of folds over. Leaving it alone in the middle. Over here. Hitting it with some intensity. Then chasing this kind of around the edge, just like this. And this edge, just like this. And then I'm just going to take my water and just kind of flutter this edge. So it's had a chance to cure. It's sticking on there.
Beautiful painting.
Just along this edge. And then let it be, because we still want that really intense red. It would be a mistake to cover it up. So same technique over here. In this case, we're going to hit this edge like this and draw it up. We're going to come in here. Just like that. And draw it up. This whole area just kind of gets a little of the white veil. And then I'm just going to blur that edge with some water. It's almost like the blotter on eyeliner. You put in your line, you let it stick, and then you blot. A little bit of white right here. Again, this is the kind of slurry. The white right here, right at the edge. And because acrylic paint not only tightens up as it dries, but it gets kind of both darker and more translucent, which is odd, but that's how it works. You're going to want to go back in and see if you got as white as you wanted to. And in this case, on this flower, I didn't. So I'm going to go back in with the same technique because it's drying a little bit. I'm going to really hit this white down here. Just like that. Really hit.
You know, another thing I want to say that I'm getting better at is not using so much paint and like wait. You know, the first few paintings we did, I was like, you know, paint everywhere, and now I'm such a conserver.
I, as an artist, don't use a lot of paint. And so I use that as a scapegoat too. Like if somebody prefers using more paint, by all means. I just prefer less. And yes, I would say in this discipline, the way we're laying it down, you're going to have an easier time using less paint.
Lori had a question. Thank you,
Sure.
Lori, so much for being so active in the comment section, by the way. I just love it. She said, what if I took out too much red? Like, I think she might mean what I did, where I put too much white in and I took out too much red. I don't know if that's what she did. Lori, is that what you mean?
Add it back in. I'm gonna add in some more red.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna add in some more red. We're gonna kind of have a cleanup phase of this, where we're gonna dry it with a hairdryer, see what we get, and see what we want to add.
She said she used too much red.
She used too much. There's not enough red left on the page.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah. Lori, is that what it is, that you don't have enough red because you use too much, or you have too much red and you don't know what to do with it?
Tell her to snap a picture and put it in the comments.
Yeah, right.
If she
She's
can.
listening to me right now. Yeah.
All right, so this is kind of the whole thing right here, right? We got the whole thing in. I don't know how it's dry yet. I know I need to highlight kind of these edges with a little bit more paint.
Yeah, Al, she wrote back, she used too much white, not too much
Yeah,
red.
gotcha. That's what I thought. So fear not. What I am going to do is just kind of get this to where I want it before I force dry it, which is one of my favorite things you can kind of only do with acrylic paint. You certainly can't do it with oil. And then we're going to take a look and see what it needs. All right. So I am going to pull out the hairdryer and
The world's quietest hairdryer. Yeah, Lori, I'm with you. I use way too much white, and then I mix the pink, and just so I need to go back and really kind of put in those reds again. And guys, I don't know about you, but my hair dryer has two settings, high and low. So low heat, dry heat, whatever it is, like high air, I don't have all that stuff. So.
all right, that's pretty dry for my purposes. Okay, so I kind of let this run in here because we're going to clean it up just like what Lori was talking about. So we want to put some of this really deep red back in. I have some on my palette. So we're going to dig back into this. And we're just going to kind of, it helps that everything is dry underneath it. And I am just going to, little by little, fill in what needs to be redder again. Just like that.
Yep. This is the part I think Chelsea will agree with me. It's these little fine tunings that take hours and hours and hours. As you take a step back, you look at it, you go, oh, that's not right. And then you get in there and you do it again.
That's a totally awesome thing to do. I would say one of the reasons we do kind of a new project every week.
Yeah.
Kind of all levels, all experience, is that you don't belabor it too much, because I think you get more from doing it, experiencing it, enjoying it, and starting over than nitpicking your stuff.
That's a good point.
Now, eventually, I think we're going to have kind of a more advanced class. We're a few months away from that, where if you'd like to work on something that we're probably going to do one project a month, but we get early into it.
Yeah, I think it's
We'll do more
also
of that.
Yeah, right.
And we'll maybe do some peer kind of critiquing. And just to say, okay, if this is what we're going for, it teaches you to see if you can kind of figure out maybe what's going a little off on somebody else's and stuff like that. All in the affirmative. We only have fun here. But this, we try something, we bring it to a point of maturity, we enjoy it, you come up with something you like, and then we make something else. And that's very much a part of the process. So I'm coming in with my reds here and just hitting the ones I want to get back. Again, easiest because I let it dry. This kind of, I'm gonna get this line right. Around here. Coming around this way, like this. My yellows are where I want them, but if your yellows aren't, this is a great thing to hit some straight up yellow in. And then the last thing I'm going to do is hit some whites.
Some highlights or just rewriting the whites?
Well, where do I want my area to be whitest? And so some of it's going to be kind of like a highlight, but like this area, I want to be whiter. So coming back in. And I'm gonna kind of let it sort of cure. Right around like this.
Allison, before these classes and other than college, like do artists ever get together and paint like this? Because I find this to be so great. Just listening to you talk and talk, you know, how you speak and everything about it. Like I find it so relaxing. I don't know, like painting in silence seems so lonely.
It isn't as much fun as this, that's for sure.
That's for sure.
I would say that we did a lot of this in college for sure, but we had like grades and people to appease,
Right.
and it was more in fear that we'd talk through some of the stuff. And I took a multi-generational art class growing up where I was by far the youngest. And I'd say the oldest was well into her 80s and a phenomenal painter. And we all made art together. And they were all invited to my high school graduation party.
Oh, good.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
So it was still very quiet probably, but we would get up and look at each other's work and talk about it. And
the peer review part does not seem as scary with this group.
No, that's what I mean. So the idea there is if you can kind of, it's not what if you can kind of figure out what's a little off, and I'm just going to flutter this out kind of like what we've been doing, but if you can figure out what's a little off about someone else's stuff, regardless if that person takes what you want from that, you get something from sort of looking at someone else's work and kind of figuring it out. So in a way, it's a little bit sort of selfish.
Right.
That makes sense. It's kind of like if you want to figure out how to do something, teach it. The same sort of muscle gets worked when you're kind of figuring out what's like, especially with drawing mistakes or something like that. If you're like, you know what I think is off is your whatever. You're learning how to fix your own work too.
That makes total sense.
All right, so I'm gonna kind of leave these petals alone. They're where I want them to be. And I think if I spent any more time on them, I've reached the point of diminishing returns. I'm actually just gonna kind of go in with my, get to that point a lot in art. And in ceramics, when you start dropping things and they fall apart, like, and they crumble, you're like, another one bites the dust.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna kind of pepper in some of these browns because that's what seemed to kind of get eliminated in mine. Maybe when I was adding the white, because it gets kind of dark along the edge and I kind of want to get that back. And then I'm gonna walk away.
Yeah, you're gonna sign
Yeah.
it?
I'm gonna sign it after I do these browns. And as soon as I say I'm done, I dig back in, so.
Yeah. I
And
think Chelsea and I can understand.
Yeah, that's part of the fun. It's like, not really. A little bit done. If anyone works digitally, it's like last draft one. Super
All
last.
right, well, I guess, are we saying goodbye then, Al? Or are we letting everybody go off to their?
I am gonna sign it. Yes. Oh, we're right at
An hour and a half?
and so I think our paint night's go an hour and a half. I think we should just start saying that. All right.
All right. Well, guys, thank you guys so much. Look ahead. Friday is a deadline for the template challenge. It's the you're drawing the babies of the animals.
Baby animals.
And I've thrown the gauntlet down. Wait till you see mine. It's gonna be incredible. And then on Monday, don't forget to you don't want to miss Monday because we're gonna do a stylistic abstract day. So Al, do you want to tease that?
Yeah, no, we're just gonna kind of pull out all our paint and sort of see what you know, with spring, what we come up with. Not unlike the collage we did for the desert.
Exciting stuff. All right, Al, well, I guess have a good week. I'll see you next week. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us and making time for art.
All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you Monday.
Bye.
Bye.